Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Catherine Jasienczyk, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 12, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us either by donation or by volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or NACTV at wcgwave.ca. And today I'm reading the Nipawin Banner and Press, dated Friday, October the 9th, 2020. And on the front page, a lovely photo of Nipawa's new signage. Two new Nipawin tourism signs have been installed at the northwest, which is what this picture is, and the northeast corners of Mountain Avenue and Main Street. Nipawin Tourism getting their branding out into the community. Those who have driven through Nipawin recently may have noticed an eye-catching change on the corner of Mountain Avenue and Main Street. The wooden Nipawin Business District signs that have been on the northwest and northeast corners for the past few decades have been swapped out for brand new bright have been swapped out for brand new bright signage featuring the Nipawin Tourism logo and website, and the words Shop, Dine, Explore. Marilyn Crew, Economic Development Officer for the town of Nipawin and member of the Nipawin Tourism Board, stated that since the committee started their work in 2018, they'd been planning to get new signage throughout the community. When Travel Manitoba developed the brand and came to the community to do the brand reveal, one of the things that they had was directional signage and ways that we can use the new brand at locations around the community. So the committee at that time took that, and we developed a 3-year plan for Nipawin tourism that included everything from brochures and merchandise to signage. And those business signs at the corner of Main and Mountain were on our plan from 2018, Crew explained. When the board was first formed, Darren Cameron and Michelle Girard initiated the work to get new signs in the community. Since then, Crew has been continuing the effort. There were a few reasons tourism felt it was time for those signs to come down after nearly 30 years. One reason Crew cited was that they felt Mountain Avenue, north of Main, wasn't really considered the only business district anymore, as there have been many businesses developing on Main Street and other areas, so the downtown core isn't the only business section of town. Continuing on here to page 11. The original plan for the signage at Mountain and Main was to reface the wood signs, but Crew noted that they had such bad dry rot that they couldn't be salvaged. The stone pillars that supported the signs, however, are still being used. The shorter pillar on the west side had a crack, so they did have to repair that, but now that's been fixed. The new signs have a sturdy foundation that keeps an element of the original look. The board was able to hire Provo Signs of Nipawin to make and install the signage. while the lighting for these signs came from Nipawin Home Hardware. As Crew pointed out, that tourism tries to support local businesses as much as possible. In addition to the new downtown signage, Nipawin Tourism is working on other signs throughout the community to highlight its many attractions. The committee ordered flag signs featuring photos of different points of interest, with a plan to have them displayed from spring to fall. They also plan to have directional signage along the streets in town to help people find the sites. The flags will mimic the directional signage, so it will all be cohesive and make sense at the end, Crew explained. My original idea about these flags was that they would go in front of the venue so that people would know they had arrived. But I also see them, and I think they would look good, really great, just straight down Mountain Avenue. So I think that we can maybe one year do them one way, one year another way. If we get another opportunity for a grant, maybe we'll get another set, and then we could do both, she noted. The flags will feature the new multi-use trail park, Nipawin Golf and Country Club, the Roxy Theatre, the Margaret Lawrence Home, the Beautiful Plains Museum, Riverbend Park, the Lily Nook, Farmery Estate Brewery, and the Bird Sanctuary. Crew noted that they are waiting to put the flags up until the spring of 2021 because they aren't meant to be out in the winter. The directional signage might be up this fall, depending on weather. However, until we launch the multi-use trail park and the name that will be attached to that, we can't do those directional signs, Crew added. We have been doing a lot of outward-facing work, like the social media and Facebook and the website. Now it's time to put the brand in the community, Crew stated. And I think it will become a sense of pride for people because we will see all of those things that we have going on. And I think when we live locally, we forget about all the great stuff we have. And so the flags and the directional signage will reinforce what the Tourism Committee has been working on for the past 3 years. And there's a picture on the page as well of Provo Signs erecting one of the signs at the junction of Mountain and Main, which actually they look really nice. I hope everybody's noticed them. And while we're on this part of the paper, there's a picture, and then above it says, "Being safe pays off." Stephanie Morfitt of Nipawin was the first winner of the I'm Being Safe For draw put on by the town of Nipawin High Life Foods. The prize pack was donated by many local businesses and is worth over $600, including gift certificates and branded swag. There will be 2 more draws over the next couple of weeks. To enter, color in the I'm Being Safe For ad. This week it's in this paper. And post it on social media with the tags at Town of Nipawin and hashtag Nipawin. New provincial court judge has local ties. The province of Manitoba announced the appointment of 2 new provincial court judges on October 5th, one of which has ties to the area. Cindy Lee Sholdis and Samuel Raposo were the 2 appointed, and Sholdis originally hails from Plumas. The 2 were selected from a list of candidates recommended by the Judicial Appointment Committee. Sholdis is the daughter of the late Edgar Solner of Plumas and Ida MacDonald, who lives with her husband, Grant MacDonald, in Nipawin. "Your family is very proud of you, Cindy," Ida expressed. Justice Minister Cliff Cullen stated during the initial announcement that both Sholdis and Raposo have been of great service to their communities during the years they have been attorneys. Each is well suited to sit on the provincial court of Manitoba, he said. According to the provincial release, Wendys has been a Crown attorney with the Manitoba Prosecution Service since 1998. She has also been a supervising senior Crown attorney with the High Risk Offender Unit and the General Prosecutions Unit, as well as a Crown advisor on Project Devote, a task force investigating missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls cold cases. Wendys has been involved with many working groups involved in mental health, including the Mental Disorders Working Group and the Mental Health Collaboration Committee. She has also been a general counsel since 2018, mentoring junior and senior Crown attorneys. She is an avid volunteer in her community, involved in sports, music, and her local Lutheran church. The appointment was effective as of the date of the provincial announcement. However, a swearing-in ceremony will be taking place at a later date. And congratulations to her. That's an excellent opportunity. And just waiting to open the doors, Bruce Brothers Bistro renovations finished, waiting on final permits. There's several photos here. On the left, the newly expanded and renovated dining room of Bruce Brothers Bistro facing the south wall, and on the right, the brand new kitchen located at the back, west end of the building, is probably about double the size of the old kitchen, which had been located just off the dining room before the renovation. And there's a photo here as well showing the new bathrooms, which are where the old kitchen was. Mark and Anastasia Mitchell are almost ready to get cooking again. After closing down at the end of May, the owners of Bruce Brothers Bistro in Nipawin are as close as they can get to being ready to open. They began working on renovations shortly after purchasing the rest of the building they had only occupied a portion of at 376 Mountain Avenue. The main floor was split into two separate spaces, and Bruce Brothers occupied the south part of it since opening in 2013. But Mark noted that they had been planning to expand for about 5 years now. They had inquired about purchasing several larger buildings in town a few years ago, such as the former Nipawin Banner building on Hamilton Street and the Resource Center building on Davidson that was demolished. Mark added that when the option arose to expand within the original building, it was the ideal choice for them. The Mitchells worked on the north side of the main floor for a couple of months while remaining open for business. Once the time came to knock down the wall between their original dining room and the new space, they closed down to focus on the renovations. Mark noted that because they had only been open for takeout during the COVID-19 shortly before closing, their income was barely worth staying open, so the timing of the close worked out. They closed as of May the 25th and finished the bulk of the construction in mid-August. However, inspections and permits have been keeping them from opening. Mark noted that, as of the Banner and Press publication deadline, they are currently waiting on one final permit to be able to open and are hoping it'll be coming within the next week or so. The renovation not only expanded their dining area to almost double its size, but they put in a brand new larger kitchen to the back of the building, replacing the old kitchen with 2 washrooms. The new space is approved for a capacity of about 100 customers. However, Mark noted that they will only have seating for about 70. Currently, because of COVID-19 restrictions, the capacity will be limited to 41 to allow for distancing between tables and customers. As well, to adhere to health recommendations, once they open, they will ask customers to wear masks whenever they are not seated at their own table, and will have a hand sanitizing station at the entrance. Not only has the space and decor changed, but the menu will be changing a bit as well. Mark noted that they will be changing their hours to be open later into supper time every day, so they will have more supper-related options, such as potentially steaks and pork chops. As well, the chefs will be trying new things in their new kitchen. So for the first while that they're open, the plan is to test out new recipes and menu items to see what the favorites are before coming out with a set menu. Mark noted that because they can't really do a proper grand opening anytime soon due to COVID-19 restrictions, they will do a celebration later on, once the menu has been set, when more people might be able to gather. As for the opening day itself, Mark said that they will be sure to make everyone aware as soon as they know when it's happening. That'll be so nice to have them back in operation, and it's such a neat little spot. Wendys Warriors participate in virtual Walk of Hope. And there's a photo here of Wendys Warriors. Wendys Warriors, comprised of members of the Menzies family, participated in a virtual Winnipeg Ovarian Cancer Walk of Hope on September 13. The team raised $6,000 for the cause. All proceeds from the walk are put towards research and treatment. The Winnipeg Ovarian Cancer Walk of Hope on Sunday, September 13, became a virtual walk due to COVID-19 concerns. The Menzies family held their own Walk of Hope at Assiniboine Park in support of ovarian cancer and in memory of their beloved Wendy, who passed away in March of this year. This is the 4th year that Wendys Warriors have participated in the Walk of Hope and hope to be involved in many more. Supporting research into ovarian cancer and its treatment is one of the direct benefits derived from the funds raised in the Walk of Hope. Fundraising efforts such as this allowed Wendy to be part of a clinical trial, which allowed her to live chemo-free and with a great quality of life for nearly 9 months. This year, Wendys Warriors was able to collect over $6,000 for the Winnipeg Ovarian Cancer Walk of Hope. A heartfelt thank you to family and friends for their generous support. What a wonderful thing for them to do in memory of Wendy. In the Rocky Mountain National Park Visitor Center receives refurbishment. There's a photo here. Nipawin banner and press photographer John Drinkwater was on site at Rocky Mountain National Park and be able to witness a crew making progress on the park's visitor center in late September. And just a note about Bigger Bingo, which is live on this station Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. It's also on Channel 12, MTS 30, Bell Express View 592, and online. The Bonanza is $6,843. The Big X is $150. The Blackout is $1,384. And the Toonie Pot is $3,896 and goes up weekly. NACTV bingo cards are available for $12 per pack at Harris Pharmacy, your dollar store, Tim Tom's, and NACTV office. And just to note that we did sell out last week, and we are having more people playing bingo, which is good for the station because all profits go back into operation costs. And also it's kind of nice because it's pretty dark early now and people can't get out and get around the way they used to with before COVID. So if you want to do something in the evening that kind of keeps your interest, and you might even win some money or have your little bubble of people together. It's a great thing to do, and it helps the community as well. And Rita Friesen's Homebodies column this week is entitled, Give Thanks with a Grateful Heart. The words of this rather new chorus has been looping through my mind this week, fitting as it is the weekend we celebrate Thanksgiving. I have been humming it as I valiantly attempt to refinish my kitchen cabinets. Thankful that I have a home, that I have a functioning kitchen, and thankful that I have the ability to tackle rather awesome tasks for an old lady of 74. I am liking the finished product much more than I am liking the process. Humming the chorus as I tidy up my yard. Thankful that I have a yard, fenced now for the convenience of aging dogs. Thankful that the raised garden beds produced enough to share, and for the apple tree that overblessed me with an abundance again. Apples to share, and unfortunately, apples to haul to the compost. And then thankful for the community compost site, a place to haul grass clippings, spoiled fruit that I don't want in my backyard compost bin, a place for the branches trimmed and tidied. That would be one of the big thumbs up to my community as a country person who always had a burning pile on the go and places aplenty to toss yard debris. Humming as I prepare for a night rest. Notice I am not untruthful to the point where I prepare for a night's sleep. Thankful for the safety of my home, the warmth and security it provides, and thankful for the clean sheets and heritage quilts. Now I lay me down to sleep, a childhood blessing, supplants the give thanks for a while. So many people to be thankful to and for. I watched the clan grow, 7 great-grands now, keeping young parents busy and making grandparents out of my children. There is a payback. I watched the family grow as people, not just as numbers. Young people learning to ride the tide, being gracious and kind even when life isn't. I watch the caring and support they offer each other and the concern with which they address me. I keep forgetting that I am old. Thankful for the countless lessons I have learned about life and myself as I move through the decades as a family member. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Friends, so easy to give thanks for the friendship shared with folks of many ages and abilities. The caring we share enriches my life, and friendships that are alive and well, even if we have not spent real time together forever. Still thankful and anticipating face-to-face time. One of my elderly friends, out of necessity, moved from independent living to the local care home. As I spent time with him, I noted the frequency with which he expressed thanks for the little things and the necessities. If the thanks came from an overflowing, grateful heart, the gratitude changed to thanks a million. Observing him as we walked to the door, he simply stated, "A little thanks goes a long way." And it does, a lesson that I need to remember always. And for that lesson, Harry, thanks a million. Always a good column from Rita. The thumbs up, thumbs down column this week has a thumbs up. Thumbs up to the students and staff of the Idrin School for their help in placing crosses and poppies on the veterans' graves and the cenotaph during Legion Week, a rainy Wednesday. And that's from Gary Henderson, Legion 110, Gladstone. Moving right along here. Out of Helen's kitchen this week, the Roaring Twenties. In Manitoba, the decade of 1920s started with the Golden Boy topping the Manitoba Legislative Building. Officially named the Eternal Youth and the Spirit of Enterprise, he faced north on the notion that Manitoba's future lay in its northern regions. It was after the Great War, the influenza pandemic, and the Winnipeg General Strike. Winnipeg was still in a recession, and the farmers suffered from very low wheat prices. But after all the ordeals Manitobans had gone through, people were eager to enjoy life. The men were home, women could vote, prohibition was over, and several new inventions added to the eagerness. This period in time was often referred to as the Roaring Twenties. The young people were behaving scandalously. For the gals, gone were those corsets and ankle-length dresses. Flapper dresses with hemlines raised, showing the girls' knees, were in fashion. Also gone were their long locks of hair. Bobbed hairstyles with waves and close-fitting hats were the new look. Men wore baggy pants called Oxford bags, bow ties, bright snappy hats, raccoon coats, and wingtip and two-tone shoes. Jazz music became wildly popular, and the young people cut a rug to the Charleston, the foxtrot, and shook their beads and booties to the shimmy. Words to a favorite song of the day were, "Those were the days, my friend, we thought they'd never end. We'd sing and dance forever and a day. We'd live the life we choose. We'd fight and never lose, for we are young and sure to have our way." Radio in the 1920s was in the beginning stages. Amazement at hearing the human voice from thin air defied the isolation felt by many. At first, stations were on the air only a few hours a day. The farm markets, educational programs, music, and the drama performed live entertained the family. In 1922, the Manitoba Free Press put Canada's first commercial station on the air. CJCG had limited hours and weak transmission, so many people listened to the more powerful transmissions from the United States. The Manitoba government wanted local and Canadian broadcasting, so MTS set up CKY in 1923. Many of the first radios used headphones, so only one person could listen. But by the mid-20s, radio sets with loudspeakers were available, so the whole gang could listen. Much to the men's delight, play-by-play sports coverage was broadcast. 1921 saw bumper crops, with the railways bringing in 40,000 workers to harvest the grain crop. In Nipawin, the courthouse grounds were chosen to build the war memorial on. Franklin got a fire engine. 1922 saw 125,000 acres in the Riding Mountain area open for farms for veterans. Kelwood Canadian Legion purchased 12 acres for a memorial park with sports grounds. 1923, the Assiniboine River rose 17 feet over normal ice level at Brandon. Portage la Prairie and Selkirk were hit hard by Assiniboine and Red River flooding. 300 bridges in the province were demolished or damaged by flooding. In 1924, Winnipeg celebrated its 50th anniversary of incorporation with a huge parade, speeches, and fireworks. Work started on the St. Rose to Rorton Railway. 1925 saw Hudson Bay Company starting to build a new retail store at the corner of Portage Avenue and Memorial Boulevard. Neepawa's Knox Church congregation voted against union with the Methodists and continued as Presbyterians. In 1926, Canadian aviation pioneer James Richardson founded Western Canada Airways Limited in Winnipeg, and his aviation company helped open mining development in the north. 1927 in Eden, a group of farmers met and decided to form an elevator board and build a pool elevator. August of 1928 saw an outbreak of polio, forcing schools to delay school opening until October. 1929 saw the Hudson Bay Railway to Churchill completed. The 20s came to a halt with the stock market crash of 1929. Countries spiraled downward into the Great Depression. In the 20s, milk and eggs were plentiful, and this pie uses both. It originated on the prairies in the era of the flapper girls. With a crumb crust, it is both quick and easy to put together. And Helen has a recipe for flapper pie here. And I can remember flapper pie from when I was young. It's always my favorite. I'll have to cut out that recipe so I have it. And Carberry resident helps Neepawa artists flourish. And there's two photos here above. A reverse self-portrait by grade 11 NACI student Albert John, drawn on black paper with a white pencil. And Carberry resident and NACI art teacher Lindsay Ardensen. In a recent grade 11 to 12 art class at Nipawin Area Collegiate, the 24 students created a reverse self-portrait project. Teacher Lindsay Ardensen taught her class how to draw an eye, a nose, and a mouth with white pencil crayon on black drawing paper. Albert John and Hazel Santiago, two grade 11 students, created excellent reverse self-portrait pictures. The art course is varied and includes drawing, painting, clay, and mixed media. Their daily 65-minute periods are conducted each semester. Individual and class critiques are often held for personal growth. Nipawin has included art classes in grade 9 and 10, which is great for the artistic and creative students. Lindsay Ardensen graduated from Killarney Collegiate and received a Bachelor of Arts majoring in English and Fine Arts at Brandon University and 2 Masters of Education degrees, one in special education and one in curriculum. She is a very creative person, which was inherited from her mother, Ronna Lee Wood, and grandmother, Phyllis Calvert. 2 years were spent teaching at Brandon's Vincent Massey Collegiate, followed by 6 years in Nipawin. She is married to Tony Ardensen, who is co-owner of Sandhills Electric, and they live in Carberry. For recreation, Lindsay enjoys curling and has recently moved up to skip her team. And Junior A hockey isn't too big to fail. And this is Owen Devereaux's column, Like I See 'Em. Well, hockey fans, we made it. Despite 2020's best effort to try and make sure we can't have nice things, we've somehow reached the point where we can all go down to the local arena and watch a little bit of shinny. Please don't take that for granted, like many of you have been doing for so long. For the longest time, the national identity of Canada has been intertwined with the game of hockey. On a more localized level, every community for generations would unite in supporting its hometown team. For some, that's the high school squad or AAA team. If your town was big enough, however, it would be a Junior A hockey franchise. Those bonds, however, have dwindled, and I assure you COVID-19 is not the only culprit in the deteriorating health of hockey. The downward spiral of the sport, especially on the Junior A level, has been going on for quite some time. COVID could simply be the final nail in the coffin. When it comes to the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, this year will not be business as usual. First off, it will feature a 40-game schedule as opposed to the normal 60. As well, the addition of the Winnipeg Freeze, whose jersey is reminiscent of the team you rooted against in the Mighty Ducks movies, and whose name sounds like an extreme new flavor of sports drink, has created the need for 3 divisions of 4 teams. Finally, the league has decided that it is implausible and potentially, in some locations, irresponsible to open up full-capacity arenas. Now, social distancing shouldn't be a problem for a club like the Winnipeg Blues, who seem to average more bodies on the team benches than in the stands. But what about teams that people actually care about, like the Steinbach Pistons, and that packed sardine can they call an arena? This situation is definitely going to hit them and all the other clubs where it hurts, in the bank balance. What will this volatility mean for the Nipawin natives, name redacted? How can a small market team such as the natives, name redacted, hope to make a season as unusual as this a financially viable one? I mean, come on, those fancy carbon fiber sticks that explode in the player's hand if they look at them funny aren't cheap. The season might be 2/3 of its normal schedule, but the day-to-day bills that are accrued and operating a franchise are still in full season mode. As well, this is not the level of sports where billionaire owners buy and operate clubs. Junior A team owners tend to be a group of local business people eating the costs of an unsuccessful year. I should know I attend every one of Nipawin's AGMs each year. As I am leaving, I ask myself the same question. How long are these people willing to pay that bill? On top of all the stress created by COVID-19 and normal day-to-day operations, Nipawin has another major financial obstacle to overcome, the team's upcoming name change. I'm not here to re-argue the point of whether or not the name should be altered. This decision has been made on that, and we collectively need to move forward now. But with that decision comes a hefty price tag. The change is more than just a simple change on letterhead. Team jerseys, on average, cost around $5,000 per set. Then there is the purchase of new merchandise and signage. Then there is the alteration of the website and all social media platforms. None of that comes without a cost. Make no doubt about it, if you supported the changing of the name, and I will admit I was one of those people, we handed the team a $10,000 to $15,000 bill. Now, what are we going to do about that? I think the support can begin by simply being willing to get off your couch and go to a game or two. If you don't like hockey, then how about buying a 10-pack of tickets for a friend, or for an enemy if they dislike hockey as well? When the new team merchandise arrives, buy a hat, t-shirt, or hoodie. When it comes to a future Nipawin whatevers, the first name is a lot more important than the last name. A pandemic-mandated half-full rink, increasing costs, and declining revenues. Make no mistake, Junior A hockey is in crisis mode, and we need to do something about it. Because if we don't, teams like the Blues, Pistons, and Natives, name redacted, won't be around for you to take for granted anymore. Pretty much to the point on that one. Then the looking back column this week. 110 years ago, October 1910, Riding Mountain. Riding Mountain went out of business on Tuesday. Everyone was attending Kelwood Fair, and why not? It only comes once a year, and we are glad to note that the prize list contains several names from Riding Mountain, who came in for a full share of well-deserved honors. 100 years ago in October 1920, Major Shearer of Nipawin is one of the aviators who are making the Trans-Canada flight from Halifax to Vancouver. 90 years ago, in October 1930, a photograph portrait is always acceptable and most appreciated as a gift, but more especially at the Christmas season. Make an appointment for that sitting now at the Moorish Studio. 80 years ago, in October 1940, a Canadian army of 500,000 men on permanent and non-permanent service will be in existence by next summer. 70 years ago, in October 1950, William G. Pollock, former mayor of Nipawin, marked his 90th birthday on Sunday, October 8, at the home of his son and daughter-in-law, Mr. and Mrs. D.E. Pollock. Friends and relatives extended congratulations to Mr. Pollock. He retired as mayor in 1947 after serving 17 years in that office. 60 years ago, in October 1960, one district resident has probably sworn off the practice of being a good Samaritan following a recent experience in which he received a poke on the nose for his troubles. The incident occurred on PTH number 5, several miles north of Nipawin. He was preparing to make a turn off the highway when another vehicle, careening from one side of the road to the other, zigged when it should have zagged and ended up in the ditch. Our hero stopped and, approaching the car with the intent of offering assistance, was ordered by a gruff voice to pull the car out or to send for some help to get it out of the ditch. With that, the driver of the ditched car, breathing liquor fumes all over the place, up and bopped our hero several times on his snout. 50 years ago, in October 1970. About 300 people turned out for the official opening ceremonies at 2 p.m. Thursday, October 1st at the Nipawin Consumers Cooperative Service Station, which was recently completed at the corner of Bryden and Mountain. When Western Canada became known as the breadbasket of the world, many thousands of settlers came to make homes in Manitoba. Among those early settlers were James and Mary Singleton and their small son, Harry. The Singleton family can be traced back to the little village of Brighouse, Yorkshire, England. There's a photo here of the Singleton family from way, way back. It was taken in 1903. James, Mary, and little Harry boarded the CPR train in Winnipeg on a hot summer day, July the 4th, 1889. A few hours later, they arrived in the little town of Arden in the municipality of Lansdowne. It was in Arden that they met one of the finest men in Manitoba, Mr. M.E. Boughton, and whose friendship they prized for many years. After working 2 years for Adam Mackenzie, James bought the southeast quarter of 31714, afterwards called the Homestead. This was James' first step in becoming a farmer. A few years later, James bought the half section of 351624, then rented the Nels Jackson half section. In the spring of 1902, all the household effects were moved to the 2-story log house on the Jackson farm. The family was growing up and everyone took part in the work on the farm. James purchased more land, the Sam McConnell farm in Glenholm. In 1905 to 1906, the James Singleton home was built by Bob McGorman and the stonework was done by Robert Lamb. 40 years ago in October 1980, a CN road repair crew, 2 brakemen, an engine man, and train conductor spent 4.5 hours last Thursday running back on track 2 engines that had derailed in the Nipawin CN rail yard. This is the first known incident in Nipawin where train engines have derailed, said a CN spokesman. 30 years ago, in October 1990, after serving with Nipawin's volunteer fire department the past 8 years, Lionel Dagg has stepped up to the job of fire chief. And prospective tenants of the new seniors' home in Plumas, Village View Lodge, could be calling the complex home by the end of the month. And finally, 20 years ago in October 2000, Manitoba's population grew by a scant 0.5% in the past year, according to Statistics Canada. That makes the province's population 1,146,880 as of July the 1st. And organizations get second chance at emergency funds. Round 2 of ECSF gives $30,000 to local community foundations. Thanks to a second round of funding from the Emergency Community Support Fund, ECSF, organizations in communities across Canada will get the chance for more funding. Big Grass Community Foundation, Carberry and Area Community Foundation, and Beautiful Plains Community Foundation will each receive an additional $30,000 to dole out to applicants in their areas, which include the communities of Gladstone, Carberry, and Nipawin, respectively, as well as their surrounding municipalities and towns. The ECSF was originally open to applications in mid-May for the first round of grants, for which community foundations across Canada were given $40,000 to distribute in their area. The program was funded by United Way Send Trade Canada, Canadian Red Cross, and Community Foundations of Canada to help organizations pay for needs that arose because of COVID-19. These funds will help our communities cope with the challenges that this virus has already created and to prepare for the unknown challenges that may be ahead, said Big Grass Community Foundation Chair Robin Richardson. Brenda Krischak, Executive Director of the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation, stated that the community foundations were only informed of this second round of funding in September. It was a pleasant surprise to realize more funding would be available to help our community with the impacts of COVID-19, Krischak stated. Carberry and Area Community Foundation Director Brianna Renwick added that they were thrilled to learn about the extra $30,000. $70,000 in total emergency support for Carberry and Area between round 1 and round 2 is phenomenal, she expressed. For round 2, any organizations that received funding from the first round of ECSF can't get money to cover costs that were already covered in their initial grant. The organizations can apply for a second grant, however, if there are other expenses for which they need funding. And, of course, other organizations who didn't apply or whose applications were not chosen will have a chance to get an application in for any project that addresses COVID-19 needs. This additional funding allows organizations to review what still may be needed as this pandemic unfolds in our area, explained Richardson. In Carberry, Renwick stated that they were fortunate that they didn't have to turn down any of the organizations that applied in round one. However, she noted that some didn't get the full funding they requested, so they would be able to apply for the remainder of that funding if they needed to. The foundations hope that all organizations who need some funds to help with COVID-19 impact will be applying. Because there already has been a first round of grants, they are expecting more people will be aware of the available funding and will take advantage of the opportunity. With the help of the paper, I believe there will be more applications this time, Krischuk said, referring to the advertisements and articles published in the Banner Press about round one of the grant distributions. Richardson noted that Big Grass Community Foundation has been busy getting the word out to organizations in their communities. We have been contacting some previous recipient organizations and another which did not previously apply in order to discuss possible new applications. We have already seen some new proposals come forward and would welcome others, he stated. It's difficult to predict how many applications we will see in Carberry and area for round two, but we hope to see any organizations who need assistance reach out, Renwick stated. We are optimistic that announcing the projects which were funded in round one will have given the community an opportunity to see just how these grant emergency funds can help local organizations. As infection rates rise in our area, support is going to be vital for our local charities and nonprofits. Organizations all across Canada are struggling with increased demand at the same time as revenues have decreased. We're beyond thankful to be able to flow additional emergency funding their way through the ECSF. And there's a whole page here with yummy recipes for Thanksgiving. Got pumpkin pie, Nanaimo bars, sweet potato oranges, Muriel's orange salad, jack-o'-lantern dinner, sweet and sour meatballs, potatoes extraordinaire, cornbread muffins, sweet potato casserole, and leftover Thanksgiving. So if you get a copy of the paper and you want to try one of those recipes, they all look extremely really good, especially with Halloween coming up. And we should, we have one obituary today. John Norbert Swiskowski. John Norbert Swiskowski of Minnedosa passed away September 15, 2020 at the Personal Care Home in Minnedosa at the age of 88 years. John was born on August 6, 1932, to John and Nellie in the Empire District, located between Clanwilliam and Polonia. There were 6 children in the family, with John located right in the middle. All the family helped their parents with the farm chores. This work ethic, instilled at a young age, kept John active throughout his life. John ventured away from the farm and tried his hand at railroading and as an electrical and plumbing assistant. The knowledge gained there was put to use when he and his brother Fred moved out of the family home, approximately 10 feet away. Well into his later years, John cut wood for sale, often with Fred, and trapped to supplement his farm income. While his siblings left home one by one, John stayed and helped first his father and then his mum manage their mixed farm with cattle and grain. It was shortly before his mum, Nellie, moved to Minnesota that John met Pat and gained not only a life partner, but a growing ready-made family. Now, instead of Saturday night's shenanigans with neighbor Arnold and brother Fred, there were card games and local dances with Pat. John welcomed all of Pat's children and grandchildren onto the farm, and over time we became his children. Every one of the grandkids has a story or two of their time with Grandpa John. John would garden and Mum would preserve the crop with canned produce stored in the root cellar. We were especially welcome during chicken season, haying season, harvest time, free labor, but then a water fight or two or a sleigh ride with Ruby and Babe, and always, always plenty of food to share. Retiring for John was just as busy, but without the cows to feed. Mum and John were both very social and traveled mostly the back roads from Erickson to Nipawin, visiting friends and attending social functions. They liked to go on bus trips to casinos in the USA and closer. Some of their longer trips were to Kenora, Ontario, and northern Saskatchewan. John enjoyed visiting and was grateful for any kindness and hospitality given to him. John was predeceased by his parents, John and Nellie, his brother Alex, sister Rosie, and just in August of this year, his brother Fred. He is survived by his partner, Pat McLean, and her children, Lillian Strahl, Wilf, Linda McNeil, Archie McLean, Christina, and Sherry Moffat, 12 grandchildren, 22 great-grandchildren, and 6 great-great-great-grandchildren. John enjoyed his final years at the Minnesota Personal Care Home. He was first moved in on a Tuesday, and he and Mum had their first dance that Friday, continuing until the COVID pandemic. There was a private graveside service on September 23rd, 2020 at Minnesota Cemetery, with Father Mark officiating. Viewing took place on September 22nd, 2020 at White's Funeral Home in Minnesota. A big thank you to all the staff at the Personal Care Home and their volunteers. If memories so desire, memorial donations may be made to the Minnesota Personal Care Home or at the Alzheimer's Society of Canada. And that is the end of the obituaries. Making sure we okay. Nipawin trades for goaltender. The Nipawin natives have made a deal with the Steinbach Pistons for the goaltender Thomas Finney. The 20-year-old, along with future considerations, were acquired by Nipawin in exchange for future considerations to Steinbach. Finney played in 7 games for the Pistons last season, recording a 1.83 goals against average and a .929 save percentage. He also spent time with the Wewaysikapo Wolverines in 2019-2020, combining for a 17-10-3 record over 32 appearances with both the Wolverines and Pistons. And the RM of Rosedale farmer loses tractor in accident. Fundraiser organized to support farming operation. And there's a picture of Melvin Teason's MX-120 CIH. Melvin Teason, an Eden area farmer and volunteer fireman for over 20 years, is heading into winter without the means to feed his cattle. For many years, Melvin has relied on his tractor, an MX-120 CIH, as the principal piece of equipment to keep his small farming operation running. The tractor had been vital for everything, including planting, spraying, mowing, and baling his winter feed. He also uses it to help other local farmers and to plow snow during the winter at his church. On September 10, while Thiessen was hauling winter hay home, the bearings in the front final drive seized up without warning. This mechanical failure caused the front wheel to stop while he was heading down a hill and jackknifed the trailer he was pulling. His tractor flipped on its side and slid 150 feet before coming to a stop, with the trailer partially on top of the tractor. Thankfully, Melvin was not injured in the incident. However, the tractor was rendered beyond repair. Unfortunately, the insurance Melvin had for the equipment only covered fire and has left him heading into winter with uncertainty on how he will be able to keep his cattle fed. Frida Thiessen, Melvin's sister, told the Banner and Press that everyone is grateful that Melvin was not seriously injured in the accident. She did add, however, that due to Melvin's farm being just a one-man operation, the prospects of immediately purchasing a replacement tractor are not feasible. Frida Thiessen added that family members have put together a fundraising effort to see if they can help raise some cash to assist Melvin with the purchase of a replacement tractor. First off, we're very thankful for our friends in church for already helping Melvin get his bales home, said Thiessen. It's an extensive loss. Because of the extent of the damage, the tractor will likely be scrapped, sold as scrap metal. So basically, we're looking at replacing a tractor here. He's a one-man farmer on a small operation, and honestly, that's not going to pay for a tractor. So we're trying to make the need known, and of course, we want to, most of all, trust the Lord to provide what He has for us. Over the years, Melvin has a passion to raise food for the world and puts everything he has into raising quality beef. He has also put his abilities to use in other countries, sharing aid and God's love while helping build a school in Brazil and traveling to countries in need of hurricane relief following disasters. As a volunteer fireman, he has helped individuals in the Eden area during their time of greatest need. On many occasions, he has pulled victims from car wrecks, rushed to put out fires, participated in search and rescue, and helped when tornadoes struck. Now, Melvin is in need of assistance, and as his family, we are reaching out to express that to you. As he looks to replace his tractor, we are humbly asking for your consideration of support. If you would like to donate, please send an email to melvinstractor@yahoo.com for further information. Your prayers, care, and concern are much appreciated. Spruce Plains RCMP report. During the week of September 28 to August 4th, Spruce Plains RCMP dealt with 53 police activities. September 28, RCMP responded to several calls for service, including a theft under $5,000, a complaint of forgery, a 911 hang-up call, and a breach of peace. September 29, RCMP provided assistance to paramedics and also assisted an emotionally disturbed person. September 30, RCMP conducted 6 COVID compliance checks on behalf of public health and determined all quarantine guidelines are being followed. Police located a person breaching their court-ordered curfew condition. The person was compelled to court. October 1st, RCMP provided assistance to paramedics dealing with a disorderly person. A wallet was turned into the detachment and was later returned to the rightful owner. Police also dealt with a tenancy dispute. As a result of a traffic stop, police located a person with an outstanding arrest warrant who was taken into custody. October the 2nd, RCMP conducted a COVID compliance check on behalf of public health and determined all quarantine guidelines were being followed. Police responded to 2 separate family disputes and assisted with a peaceful resolution in both cases. Police also responded to a hit and run, which is still under investigation. On October 3rd, RCMP responded to a commercial alarm, which was determined to be a false alarm. 2 separate thefts were reported, one a motorcycle and the other from a business in Kelwood. Both matters are still under investigation. October 4th, RCMP located 2 people breaching their court-ordered conditions. They were both arrested and later released with court dates. Police responded to a report of a missing child shortly after the child was located hiding within the complainant's residence. Police responded to a report of a deceased calf that had been shot. The matter is still under investigation. RCMP conducted 24 traffic enforcement actions during this reporting period. Spruce Plains RCMP would like to remind motorists that school is back in session and to be mindful of the school zones and increased pedestrian traffic. Please ensure you are making complete stops at controlled intersections and paying close attention for the safety of the children. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Nipawin and Manitoba RCMP detachments advised they will be limiting front counter services at the detachments until further notice. We request that you contact each detachment at Nipawa's number or Manitoba's number is here to inquire about criminal record checks or to file a report. Leave a message if needed and it will be checked the following business day. Do not leave a message if you require immediate police assistance. And they give numbers that you must dial or 911 to have a police officer respond to you promptly. And COVID-19 affecting Nipawin Area Health Auxiliary. Over the last many years, businesses in the town of Nipawin and surrounding RMs have either received a letter from the Health Auxiliary or a visit from a member or 2 of the auxiliary or both, requesting the businesses to consider a donation towards the largest fundraising activity that the auxiliary undertakes in the months of September and October. This year, with the pandemic, the executive committee decided that they could not, in good conscience, go to businesses that have been struggling during the pandemic asking for donations. This does not mean that our local health facilities are still not requesting help in purchasing much needed equipment. In fact, during a pandemic where patients or residents may be isolated in rooms, there is probably more need for equipment, such as thermometers, blood pressure machines, etc. They can be dedicated to those patients, so there is no need to share equipment between patients. Also in September and October, you would have seen members sitting at stations either at the Co-op grocery store or at Giant Tiger, selling tickets for a draw that would be made at their annual tea in October to thank the community for their continued support. This was also a form of raising money for the purchase of equipment that all facets of health care, acute care, long-term care, home care, public health, mental health, and emergency service in our community would benefit from. This is not happening this year, either due to the pandemic Over the last year, the auxiliary raised $21,661 and spent $19,734 on equipment for the different areas of healthcare within our local facilities. Just recently, the healthcare has requested approximately $10,000 to purchase the equipment that the auxiliary approved of at their January 2020 meeting, and the care home has given a list of equipment that will need replacing over the next few years, totaling close to $100,000. Unfortunately, the auxiliary will not be able to help them out at this time because they have not been able to fundraise. Even though we are not canvassing out there in the communities, it does not mean we would not gladly take your donations and put it to good use. A charitable donation receipt will be issued. We are nearing the end of the year where you may need some deductions for income tax purposes. Any donations can be sent to the Nipawin Area Health Auxiliary, Box 1461, Nipawin. The auxiliary has not been able to meet as a whole since January, but the executive is happy to report that they made a decision to reconvene for the November meeting on Tuesday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. upstairs at the Legion, honoring all public health orders of social distancing, gathering numbers, wearing of masks into the building, etc. If there is anyone out there that would like to become a member of this group, you are more than welcome. We're always looking for new members. Now, it's such a worthwhile organization, and as indicated, they raise a lot of money, and that all goes into healthcare in our community to keep it up to date. And briefly, there's a insert of the Nipawin banner and press this week, and it's Fire Prevention Week. So they have photos here of different fire-related calls and the different fire departments all over our area. So it's kind of neat if you want to look at it. There's Nipawin and Gladstone, Plumas, Calwood, Carberry, Eddystone, Amaranth, Alonza. It's the pictures of all the people that are working so hard at volunteering in their own fire departments to help keep the whole community safe. And just to note, there's also a photo here of 4-H Beef Club member Savannah Bjarnson donating $310 from the proceeds of the sale of her 4-H steer to the Gladstone Fire Department. A picture of her here and the fire department accepting the check, which is an excellent thing for her to do. And continuing on, we also have Laurier, Glenella, McCreary, Arden, Onanol, St. Rose, Minnedosa, Eden, Erickson. So all these different fire departments in our area that we sometimes don't even think about. Might be a nice idea to go through this and take a look and to see who it is that's all helping in that regard. And previously we had mentioned this I'm Being Safe For poster, and it is in the middle of this insert, and all you have to do is cut it out and say why you are being safe, who you are being safe for. And there's also, in the back page, is the province has launched $5 million fund for fire protection grants, which is open to all municipalities and Northern Affairs communities. And it supports projects and activities that improve fire protection or emergency response in those communities or mutual aid districts. And that includes items such as preparedness planning, training, and safety equipment. So that is a very, very handy thing to read that too and see where that money can be going. And in that regard, I think we've pretty well finished the Banner and Press for this week. We hope you tune in next week for another edition of the Banner and Press. Thank you for listening.